Yeah, just press right click. Easy game if you can get those right clicks in. But this only works, Des, if we're talking about teams running into similar compositions with the GOATs versus GOATs matchup. But more and more as we move into Contenders, we're seeing teams flex away from having what we call traditional 3-3 and throwing things in like the Mei, going the Sombra, putting the Doomfist in there. So let's see what these guys roll out with, because I think Morningstar's potentially put Dragon Eddie on the Mei for this one, but he might fall back to his traditional Diva.
He would be the person you'd swap out in that case, like we see Winstrike do. You do sacrifice the defense matrix and the high ground control you sometimes get with the Diva for the Mei to have the wall, to have the ice block, things like that. In this case, not strictly required. Both teams are going to roll out with that GOAT. So in this fight, keep a very close eye on the Zarya bubbles. It all depends on who takes ground with what bubbles and where.
You can already see it's already been used early on the Zaryas independently. They've not used the protective barrier. Now Mazasa gets that one down early onto him. So already it's going to put Morningstars on the back foot because they have it on cooldown. Leaf going down incredibly low. Wood doesn't have that protective option. HSL Esports still not taking the ground away from Morningstars. They're going to hold off position, giving away that territorial control.
Very interested to see if HSL can keep an eye on Leaf today. He plays a flanking Brigitte, as a few coaches have started calling it, where a one-man mission into your backline and try and murder your Zen as quickly as possible. If they turn to defend the Zen, they are fully exposed to your team and you're in deep trouble.
What do you do against the homicidal Brigitte? That's a question the Zenyatas have to ask themselves. Verdansk's going to be healing up a lot of members. Graviton Surge being used, pulls Morningstars together. Progi and Zeke getting in there with the first 2 kills as Progi comes out huge. Get your prog champs in the chat, as Progi's going to win this one out for HSL Esports.
When me and you used to play Overwatch together, there was always a word you used to type in chat, or 3
words.
It
wasn't a word.
It was a phrase whenever you played Reinhardt, and what was it?
Gold damage, by the way.
Exactly. And if you are playing Reinhardt in a 3-3 comp, you can spam that all day long. These Graviton Surges pulling the enemy team together. You swing your hammer for 75 damage to each for each swing. You're getting a lot of damage there in a very short amount of time, and you get the Earth Shatter just like Froggy has got now.
He's going to put it straight down onto Pollitt. Actually, nope, that's Malzaza putting it into Progi's shield. Still going to hold on to that one and fall back onto the point. Got a little bit of insurance there because they have the control. Graviton Surge from Morningstars pulls them all together. They're sitting in that Transcendence though, so no one should go down. Sound Barrier being led by Morningstars. They move onto the point. Progi did drop that Earth Shatter to ill effect against Morningstars. They were able to block that one out, and now Dragon Eddie gets the kill on Silas. Brigitte going down does put HSL Esports on the back foot, but they're still willing to contest this one in the hopes they can get some damage somewhere. D-Mech on the Tech 3-6. Zeke going to go down. Tech 3-6 will get the ultimate kill onto Exo Wrath, but Casper, he's just moving around with the rest of Morningstars. They're going to take control of this and flip it back in their possession.
There's a big problem there for Morningstars in their fight because they led in with the Graviton Surge, which is fine, and Dragon Eddie had that self-destruct up. And the best response you can have to a team when they're caught in Graviton Surge is to drop on the self-destruct. Doesn't matter if they bring out the Transcendence, that 1,000 damage from Diva's ultimate will kill anyone inside the area, assuming they haven't got something like a Sound Barrier on top, which they didn't have available. But they didn't fire it out, they didn't have the follow-up damage, and the Transcendence kept everyone topped up and healthy. That's why HSL could stay around for longer, but by then, Morningstars were able to push in and, for the most part, fight back until HSL ultimately closed them out.
Nice shatter through the choke. Malzahn is going to take out Progi. Zeke has got the Graviton Surge, but he's going to die here. Hold on to that ultimate because the fight's pretty much over at that point if you lost that many members. Keeping the ult bank high for the team allows them to go in with the powerful combos. We noted in the last series that having out of sync combinations without any follow-up to a grab or a shatter is problematic. HSL Esports not going to fall victim to that trap.
Speaking of combos, there's 2 you got to look out for. Brigitte going in for the shield bash onto the enemy Ryan, and then an Earth Shatter following up straight after, or this kind of thing where you get a Graviton Surge with a self-destruct.
And Progi's just going to take Malzaza off the map throughout that Chaos Dredro, getting the double boot kill onto Hidan and Progi. Very dominant, aggressive Graviton Surge from Morningstars to shut down HSL.
They haven't got a combo they can play with in the next fight, but they will have both support ultimates online, and you can layer these against different types of threats that are coming against you. Sound Barrier, fantastic against burst damage like the self-destruct. Transcendence, fantastic against anything else to do with more overtime damage. Of course, sometimes you will be outdone in terms of healing, but for the most part, it will keep your team alive.
Both rallies being used. They're going to sit underneath those shields on the Zenyatta and Zarya, and it's going to give them that extra resistance to keep them healthier in this fight. Dredro going to find Zeke to the side, self-destruct on top of the Graviton Surge. Transcendence is there to heal everything up. Only finds a D-Mech onto Dragon Eddie, and the Sound Barrier then comes out for HSL Esports. Hashkov giving a case of tinnitus to Malzaza, taking him off the field. This is going to be a retake for HSL Esports. Morningstars have to back off. They are sitting at 99%, so that means one fight for them should win them the round.
Small little cute things like that. That fight kind of was off the back of 2 combos where it had the Graviton Surge and the Self-Destruct to begin with from both sides, and that was then followed up by sound barriers before ultimately it actually came down to the Earth Shadow coming out of both tanks with their Brigitas in tow. It was actually Progi who caught Malzahar out, downed him, and without the main big front shield of that comp, HSL just didn't have the staying power that Morning Stars did, and ultimately they got forced back. And now HSL 75%. They're in a good opportunity here to potentially take this first map away from Morning Stars if they can hold on for any longer.
If they lose the fight, they are going to lose the round. It's just getting to that danger mode, or danger zone, shall we say, as Malzahar puts the Shatter onto the floor. That's huge. No blockage there. Transcendence comes in, managed to keep most of the team alive. They're still going to lose Sardis. Exoraptor the one to pick up that kill. Layer the Graviton Surge on afterwards. Just keep hitting them with the 1-2 punch. And as HSL Esports going to be taken off the map. The retake should be fine for Morning Stars with no follow-up contention from HSL Esports. The map's going to go over to Morning Stars.
It absolutely will. I wish I called it when it first came into play, because as soon as Malzahar's Earth Shadow came online, you were looking at the other side towards Leaf getting in there on the Brigitte. He was off to the right-hand side of the screen, came in, stunned Progi, so they had no frontline shield, and then Earth Shadowed the entire team. And yes, you just saw at the end there, he had the Earth Shatter online again. That's how quick he will be able to get it online when the whole team is stunned down. There's quite a lot of large health bars on there, and that has always been a very big criticism of tank-heavy comps, is you will give over a lot of ultimates, but if you can hold ground as well as Goats can, well, why change off?
Both of these teams are going to emerge out the spawn points with similar compositions here, and the first clash in the Goats comp, in a Goats mirror, shall we say, is very important, as is all contestants on the first control map. Why is that, Des? What causes them to put so much priority on the first fight?
Because you don't have the ultimates, and it tends to be whoever wins that first fight will come out on top with more ultimates, and you can just roll 2 or 3 fights in a row. We saw Giganti do it actually on this exact round on the last series, so maybe we see the same sort of thing come out here. Going for a very weird flank here, but what Morning Stars are doing is forcing HSL to fight through the choke, which plays into their favor.
They're going to have the positional advantage. It's always important to have someone aggressive onto you because you can play under your terms. And like you said, Des, they're going to use the chokes. Now using a different one, isolating the point specifically. They're going to stand on it and buy more time. And HSL are going to be forced to act because the control point unlocks in 1. Look at a protected barrier to block out and hold on to that player during the stun. And Progi just gets rammed into the corner. Tech36 will get a return kill onto Casper, but I think losing your Reinhardt's a little bit more impactful in this situation.
That was absolutely it. So Morning Stars, as soon as they saw HSL half push through the doorway, Leaf, you saw him beeline straight on towards Progi and say, this main tank is going to die. It was Exorath who picked off the kill. He gets another one onto Hidan here as well. But that will often be the aim. The Brigitte getting that stun down means that the Zenyatta can put the Discord Orb on the Rhine. He cannot break that Discord Orb without breaking line of sight. Even if he puts his shield up, it will stay on. That means he's very easy to roll over for tank-based comps like this. That's why you don't see Moira so much anymore, is because despite her healing, that 30% Discord Orb damage gives you more than enough damage onto the front line to bring the Rhine down and completely collapse any kind of defense for the back line.
Well, HSL has a slight altered advantage, but across the board, Morning Stars are closer to getting the whole buffet. Ult being eaten straight away by Mr. Dragon Eddie, keeping Morning Stars in the game and negating Zeke's effect with the Graviton Surge, a pivotal ultimate in these compositions. Progi's getting closer to his own, but Malzahar has already got one. There's the grab from Morning Star. Dragon Eddie sitting on top. They're going to take someone completely out of the fight. It's Progi being forced into the back corners. The sound barrier is going to reinforce Morning Star. Zeke takes out Malzahar, punishes that aggressive charge he used to isolate the Reinhardt, and now HSL might be able to flip this back onto Morning Stars with the man advantage. Ashkov is going to increase it, so is Sardis, and then Progi going to finish up onto Dragon Eddie. The retake from HSL Esports are around about 70%.
So we mentioned earlier on that the Zarya bubbles are the big one to keep an eye for. Lucio speed boost is exactly the same thing you need to keep an eye out on, because whenever that gets popped, a team will either relocate somewhere else, they'll go for an engage, or they'll be losing it to try and back away and keep themselves safe. More often than not, it's used quite aggressively to engage into the enemy team and rush the backline. That's exactly what Morning Stars did on the first fight of this map, and HSL in this case, they managed to make it work beautifully for them as well. Sardis, look at him just holding down here.
Going to hold that position so he can just catch someone off guard with a stun. It's Malzahar. Oh, unfortunately, didn't get the timing right for Progi to get that shield bash into shatter combination. Look at this, though. Malzahar doesn't need to use the shield bash. He just weaves it around Progi's positioning. Leaf taking out Ashkov. We know how aggressive he is heading for the back line. Graviton Surge pulling the rest of Morning Stars together. Self-destruct there.
So
stun
close.
doesn't keep them exposed to the bomb for enough time, but Progi's still going to get a kill. HSL Esports are going to hold on to this one for now, but Morning Stars haven't fully given up on this engagement.
That was a really nice cute play that came out of them there as well with the self-destruct, but in this case trying to go back in again with another Graviton Surge coming down. Ashkov has gone down to Caspian on the back of this one. Zarya being one of the heavy DPS heroes in this composition, more than enough damage to burn down a stationary target.
I mean, he was also the only person who got caught up in that grab. It does create a man advantage, but you miss it for the big team fight. Earth Shatter was thrown down. Don't think it hit anyone, but Morningstars are still going to be able to take out multiple members of HSL. And it's about 70%. They're going to get the flips. This is very even for this second round.
It's very close, and you already see little small micro plays coming in. So if ever you see a big ultimate like we did a second ago, the self-destruct was about to go off. Straight away, Brigitte, where's the Reinhardt? Stunned him up. He almost got blasted away, but the Zarya bubble came through in the nick of time to make sure he didn't die to it. So again, it's almost like small concentrating off of abilities and positioning between the two sides. If Shield Bash is on cooldown, well, you're in a pretty good spot. If it's off cooldown, well, be very, very careful. You've got to keep holding up projected barrier to keep your tanks alive.
Every action should have an opposite reaction, not necessarily equal. That's the best thing about these engagements. Exaraf going to take out Progi early. No big shield, and he misses out on that sound barrier deployed by Ashcroft. Graviton Surge going to pull them all together again, as Silas will take out Dredro. Overtime and possessional control in favor of Morningstars. Casper's going to get the DMAC, going to kill onto her Darn. The Shatter coming down to take out Zeke. This is going to be another one round for Morningstars. They're going to take Lijiang Tower 2-0.
Really good response by HSL there when they were in the 5 versus 6 with no main tank, and they knew they had to take the fight. Their response was Graviton Surge, keep 4 or 5 members separate, and yes, they managed to pick one of them off. Didn't matter though, because Morningstar still had the cooldowns available. They had those ultimates, which is often what GOATS boils down to when you get further into a round, and they close things out. But this is what the guys on the desk expected. It's what many of us expected. Morningstars, as they said, didn't beat Giganti just by being lucky. They beat it by being good, and they've exerted it once again over HSL here on Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, a little bit of desync there. We noticed it a couple of times, the shield bash into shatter combination. Not quite there for HSL. Just those small micro plays making all the difference in the head-to-heads. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to bring you map number 2. Welcome back to Overwatch Contenders. We're about to jump into the second map of the series between HSL and Morning Stars, and very small differences between the two teams created the result we saw, which was Morning Stars ultimately coming out in a 2-0 fashion despite high percentage on capture point for both teams. And it's these small differences we were talking about during the map, but it's not necessarily how proactive you can be, it's about your reactive nature as well.
It's what can get quite confusing is when you watch these very tank-heavy compositions coming together, you often see all 12 heroes in very close proximity, lots of ultimates being used, and then one team emerges with more numbers than the other. And often the question is, how the hell did they come away with more numbers? Because it is very difficult to see at times. It can be something as small as a Brigitte shield bash coming through onto a key target and blocking a defense matrix onto a grab, for example. It could be exposing a Reinhardt by having a self-destruct go off just as that stun comes through. There's all kinds of little bits and bobs like that that can play into it. But what I want to focus on in this map, if we see it probably more on second and third point, is around the Zenyatta Discord and where it sits in these fights. Often what you'll see in the prep to a fight is that you'll have a shield bash come through onto the Reinhardt. Discord gets placed on there. Again, as we said in the last map, you can only cleanse it by breaking line of sight or using a Zarya bubble. That's all the excuse you need to go for the big engagement and try and crush that main tank.
Those protected barriers, a strong commodity.
It is.
In the bank of goats.
Proggy has got a lot of it right now on the Orisa.
Lots of changing up coming from Morning Stars. They jump out Malzaza, not going to be slowed down at all. Just leaps out of the spawn room with the rest of his team. Leaf jumping over to the Farah, and he's got Dreedro with him on the Mercy.
I love how Proggy was just like, nah, I'm not staying there against this comp, boys. Back to the cafe. Against this spam, no thank you.
Okay, so they're going back to the cafe, obviously, because they're a little bit more sheltered from the Farah rockets. There's more geometry blocking it, and they got a roof as well, so the angles are limited. You see the straight line of sight fire from Leaf, just going to break down the shield as the rest of Morning Stars positions around the map.
It's going to be quite hard to make this work for them, I think, because what they're trying to do is spam them off this high ground and get them on the low ground. They have got the health pack downstairs, so they can make it work. Bring in the Anna-Ear as well for both sides. Whoever gets the nano boost first is probably going to be able to cleanse out the other team. That's what Morning Stars are playing for right now, but they find Proggy. That is the big deal breaker, because now there are no shields.
Because the shield actually came out as he was dying, you can tell that rocket just snuck in there as it was being deployed, which is such unfortunate timing for Proggy. He's going to go down, he's going to give a lot of control here. Leaf finding another kill on Tech 3-6, taking out D.Va, who's usually a good response to fire with that defense matrix and just that aerial body on the map. Exoraf going to take out Zeke, and Malzaza, of course, cleans it up onto Ashcroft. Now, what they want to do here is they've got the capture point. They want to try and take an aggressive position in the next phase to stop HSL from being entrenched with whatever option they take. Sometimes we see Widowmakers, but HSL going to run out with that Zen Goats.
Yes, so as we call it, the Winston Goats. So the name we come for it sometimes. Monkey dive, dive ball, the guys are calling it earlier on, take your pick on whatever you want to call it. This is very similar to Goats because the only pick change you've made is the Winston in place for the Reinhardt. It plays a bit differently, the idea being that you have your dive tanks that can go for an engage and you have the Zarya bubble to keep them alive as well as the supports who can protect each other. But ultimately, you're still looking to go for those big engages like you would play with dive, it's just a lot safer.
There's the nano boost into the barrage. Not much Zeke could do there. He was trapped against the hay bales. Gets the D-Mech on Tech 3-6. Malzaza going to steam through here. Leaf not looking like he's going to change off this Farah because it's just working so well for Morning Stars.
I love when you don't always see it whenever a Farah uses barrage.
He's going to go change off now. Don't say that.
But quite commonly what you see is your D.Va will just use the defense matrix on you for as long as possible. And there's the change comes through because they've got that wipe and wanted to go over to playing on their own Monkey Goats. In fact, HSL in this case have gone straight over to full Goats or full 3-3 with the Rhine. It plays very well into this divey kind of style that you see coming out of Monkey Goats because it's very difficult to isolate a particular member and get in the back line. Although they've managed to do it against the Rhine. Yep,
speaking about isolation, Malzaza's found himself a tasty Hadan in the corner, going to turn him into a pile of nuts and bolts. He jumps back to the payload to help out the rest of his team. Proggy, no HP, just going to travel straight through that lightning, getting taken out. Exoraf going to clean up with the Zenyatta on the back line. And it was one of the advantageous things about changing over this composition for HSL. Like you said, there's only one person has to change to fundamentally change how the composition works. It saves a lot of ult charge.
The biggest problem here is that you need time to set up and make sure you are together as 6. And Morning Stars did the right thing there. They engaged before HSL could get the full setup. The tanks were still separate from the supports who were a good 10 to 20 meters behind them. They forced the Rhine one way, jumped onto the exposed Zen and crushed him.
And Morning Stars making the exact same switch that HSL did in the second section. Malzaza now going over to the Reinhardt. It's like I said, changes the playstyle of the comp. One person changing, one ult charge potentially sacrificed. As Casper's going to move forward, Amp It Up being used to relocate and move the team around as they're trying to fight around this spawn room. So nice take back of control by HSL. They've killed the momentum in the push, but now they just need to hold this position.
Their use of barriers in that fight, they use both very, very close together. There's a self-barrier for the Zarya and the one onto the Rhine. What you're using that for sometimes is to be able to be unstunnable while you push forward into the enemy team. Those shields have got quite a bit of health. So they put that on there, picked off one target, and in the ensuing 6 versus 5, it didn't matter that the barriers were on cooldown because they turned it into a kill.
Now Hadan's going to sit on this back line. This healing orb clearly on the tanks who need the healing. Discord orb trying to be kept on enemy teams. But of course, here comes the Graviton Surge, pulls them all together, charge through, allows Tech36 to find Tridd and get a D-Mech onto Dragon Eddie. And Hadan's going to follow up and finish off that kill. Now that D.Va's been exposed from the mech and Sardis goes on to Leaf. Des, we need to start talking about where these Discord orbs are going and also talk about the huge ultimate bank that Morning Stars has.
Yes, we forgot about the Discord orbs because it's been a pretty explosive map with not so much Goats versus Goats play so far. This is the first time we're seeing it so far in this map. But let's keep an eye out on where these Discords go. More often than not, again, you will see it either on the Brigitte or on the Reinhardt. The Brigitte to try and scare away from the engage, Reinhardt to crush it.
Graviton Stars being thrown out. I believe that was eaten. No one going to be able to collect that one. Tech36 again being our very hungry boy as the Transcendence will move forward with the rest of HSL. Malzahar allows the shatter onto the back line, but most people are going to be around the cover. Ashkoft, however, not going to be missing out from Dragon Eddie. Zeke will get a return kill onto Leaf, and the high ground's being controlled by Tech36. He's got the freedom to shatter through the payload. Progi going to be able to get multiple members. Protected barrier keeps him topped up as these charges through. No kills found. An aggressive Transcendence from Exoraf pushes the rest of Morning Stars forward, with Malzahar taking out Zeke and isolating players. As you can see, Progi is left by himself trying to regroup with his team and get together. Sardis and Hazan taking out their opposite members, as well as Progi. This is a complete mirror match shutdown from HSL Esports. They've entrenched themselves on this final stage defense.
Very, very scrappy fight overall as well, but you saw the Brig stun come through from the shield bash, and then the immediate shatter follow-up. The response from the other side was to drop the sound barrier to try and keep the team alive. Problem is, they didn't manage to push back in off of that and go for a fight and clear out. That's when we saw HSL come back in with the fighting chance to restore control, and that's exactly what they've got here. They have not been moved for 2 minutes.
Eaten by Tech36
Hungry
again.
boy.
2 in a row for this absolute mad lad. Progi throws down the shatter as Dreedro is going to get eliminated as well as Casper. That's a high-energy Zeke off to the side to clean up. 2 minutes remaining for Morning Stars.
Just keep on pushing them back, and this is the kind of stage in the game where these rolling ultimates can really come into effect. The last one was just a case of eating an enemy ultimate, which turned it in your favor because they knew it wasn't there to threaten them and they could go for the push.
Takes a lot of the guesswork out of the ult tracking if you know the ult's just been deleted, right?
Exactly, and now HSL have got that self-destruct online. They aren't terribly far away from getting the Graviton Surge online. Zarya will build it up very quickly, again doing a whole lot of DPS very quickly when she gets the high charge. Sending
his self-destruct into the backline is always a risk, but Hadan's going to be taken out for it. Nice shatter coming out from Mr. Progi to knock Malzahar on his back. He's going to be taken out by Leaf regardless, so Malzahar is still going to have that shatter. I don't think he wants to commit to this fight. It's looking very advantageous for Morning Stars as they push forward. Exoraf taking out Ashkoft. Leaf again onto Sardis. As a D-Mech, they're going to move around onto the home stretch.
Goats is a great example of being conservative with your ultimates. They knew without a main tank in the fray there, they could still just go for that win in a 6 versus 5 scenario. So they held onto that Earthshatter. It gives more strings to the bow of Morning Stars here as they push in towards the third and final point with 4 ultimates online. There's 2 possible combos they can almost execute here.
There's the first one. Malzahar finds the shatter. Nice sound barrier off to the side. Follow up with the grab to immediately stop any momentum play. There's self-destruct on the middle of the point. Nice blockage coming out. They got it there just in time. Grab finally coming out for Casper. Tech36 unable to consume that one. Will get a couple of kills for their efforts. It's just the tank line trying to stay alive on the backside. Progi throws down the hammer. He's going to be cleaned up. As Malzahar's going to take that one out. Hadan answering back onto Malzahar. Casper putting it in favor of Morning Stars yet again. And they push forward and get the D-Mech of Tech36, healing up the rest of the team. Protected barrier to keep Casper alive, using that very defensively as he's lost his shield. Needs to get that HP back. You can see the Orb of Harmony doing the work as Exoraf, with that right click, will get a Transcendence for next fight.
It's one thing we've really kind of failed to mention, actually thinking about this match coming into it, is that Hadan versus Exoraf, 2 huge Zenyatas. Both of them now in the stage where they're dragging out quite a lot in these fights, but one has got Trans and one doesn't.
And this is the final fight of the game. It has to be overtime, forcing it out. 0 seconds on the clock as Dragon Eddie and Malzahar to get the first 2 kills. This is looking like it's going to be a Morning Stars sweep over HSL. Not much resistance coming out of here. Just Ashkoft to contend at the end. And they're going to finish Albite with nothing left in the time bank.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't think about this coming into it. Exarath and Hidan. One I was shilling last season, Exarath quite a lot. This season I've been speaking about this guy, Hidan.
You're a bit of a fan, Des.
Fan, I'm a fan. It's your new favourite term, it seems to be. Absolutely.
Look, don't hate on creativity, right? You change one letter, you change the meaning, you change the game.
Exarath got from 0% after using a trans to 30% in about 5 seconds. The guy was just fragging out in most of those fights, doing big work for his team. And they're rewarded with all 3 points, but there is no time bank there. So now HSL, they have the opportunity to undo what has been done and give themselves some remaining time bank to give themselves that final push attempt.
Then if you're new to how the rules are, you're just not quite sure on that exact interaction, as long as HSL Esports finish this map with over 1 minute in the time bank, it will just be their offense to decide whether it's a draw or a victory in their favor. So if they finish under 1 minute, everyone will be bumped up. So they have at least a minute, and you'll add all the time back on afterwards. But we've got to finish with at least a minute left in their time bank to force out that guaranteed draw or victory for them, and remove the option of a loss.
We'll save the potential discussion about this 3-3 composition to when we get to the second point, as right now it looks like Morning Stars are rolling out with the good old Sombra Doomfist, which actually, funnily enough, and on a relevant note, is often the counter you'll see get picked against this comp. Purely because, yes, it's dive, but it is very, very quick dive. It can get in the backline. We've already seen what Doomfist can do, and Leaf is one of the best we have here in European Contenders.
I think one of the prime examples of it was actually on Hanamura in the last series, where you just watch someone get 80% ult charge in one fight because he hit all the tanks who were moved together in a death ball effect.
It's disgusting, yeah.
And he got about 400 HP shield, which is a great mechanic for Doomfist because it turns a DPS into an off-tank.
The HSL aren't being anything too extravagant with their picks here, bringing this, actually going to change back over, and here they go. So now we're going to roll up with the variant of Monkey Goats, but with Moira in tow, gives you more healing rather than the damage potential that Zen brings to the party.
And what difference does that really make to the playstyle instead of having the Zenyatta?
It's more take ground, hold ground, because you've got that excessive healing, or when you've got the Coalescence, you just go for an all-in and push with that because you can heal everyone. Watch out for Leaf here trying to find a target, though.
He managed to go to the back, and beautiful stun there by Sardis, interrupts the flow of his combo. Leaf taking a little bit back by that one, but he's still going to get back into it as Exarath takes out Ashcroft. And Rocket Punch did a lot of damage, didn't get a kill, but it definitely put HSL on the back foot as Morning Stars are chasing them away. Progi taking out Dragon Eddie as a D-Max there. Rocket Punch through the gap. Protective Barrier did negate a lot of that damage. Progi again. They've actually wrapped around the back of Morning Stars, started taking out the back line for their supports. They're going to get back onto the point.
Malzas is super low as well. He's not long for this world. Down he goes.
Of course he's low. His supports have just been deleted. What a turn of events by HSL that they just looped around the point.
This is the comp I'd probably call dive ball, because it's essentially a 6-0 dive as well, without this stupidly strong dive that you often see in the old school dive, because you haven't got a Zen. And Zen is one of the most fragile heroes in the game if you're not careful.
Static as well, he's not the fastest moving.
Whereas in this case, you've got a Moira who can look after herself for the most part, self-heal with the E, and she can also fade out. Brigitte is arguably the slowest member, but she's an absolute monster in her own right with all that self-healing too. This comp just moves around as a unit, dives where it wants to, and kills a target whilst being extremely hardy itself.
The Leaf switched over to the Brigitte. They're still getting Casper, who had that EMP, just dropped that onto the backline of HSL. They're trying to force this fight hard. Leaf will get the stun kill onto Progi. Casper's going to back off because he wants to go change. Use that EMP, wants to fit into a matching composition against HSL.
They managed to stall out for a bit. They'll be happy with that one, so it is indeed time to change over. And HSL, they're going to do exactly the same story. They're going over to this full GOAT setup themselves too. Wouldn't be too surprised. In fact, they are only off for Malzasa here. I was going to say switch over and match it, but there we go. Now he's changed. Now they're matching it.
Yeah. And one of the reasons you go back to the Zenyatta is when you know it's going to be a Goats v Goats matchup, you want to have that Orb of Discord to shred through tanks, right?
Yes.
You don't want to be having the Moira into that. Self-destruct over the top, going to drop there, Graviton Surge, sitting right on the middle. Top of a self-destruct. They try to get to this placement, it's only Dredro who will go down to that combination. Dragon Eddie taking out Progi, they're clashing on the point. Still trying to figure out who's going to win. Rally being popped by Morning Stars. Someone's not receiving that armor as they're coming out of spawn with Exarath, unfortunately. It's going to be quite vital to get that on the Zenyatta, but HSL Esports still need to back off and have a bit of ebb and flow with how they're moving towards this one, because they have to concede ground when they've not got the numbers, especially if you're losing the mech there. Exarath taking out Tech 36's tank capabilities, turning him into just a measly little DPS with a blaster pistol. It's more like a pellet gun at this point. Still going to be able to get that ult charge back if he stays there long enough, but they want to try and stall it out as much as possible. And I'm just going to be playing around this corner.
And it's worth noting as well, when you're watching GOATs, there is no way you will catch everything that happens in these fights. It's very quick, it's very fact, there's another fight going on here. You may as well finish this one first.
Well, yeah, the Earth Shatter's available. Not much follow-up. They did burn Transcendence out from Hidan. Shatter comes down, blocked out by most of the players apart from Ashcroft, unfortunately. Dredro, he's going to drop the sound barrier. Ashcroft goes down with his. So they're able to get that one out in the engagement, but they've only traded 1-for-1 at the moment. Tech36 going to take out Malzaza, just turn it into a 2-for-1 trade, but they're not quite pressing forward on this one because they're still playing a little bit conservative. They've got to deal with a lot of players and bodies on the point. Sardis will hit Dredro with that rocket flare whip. Zeke taking out Dragon Eddie means they can get this back in motion and hopefully get it to around that last corner. I don't think you have enough time to get the full completion without a contest.
I was saying it's very quick and frantic, so you won't catch everything. So just look out for those key things. If you see a Rhino online, watch out for the Brigitte. In that last fight, for example, it wasn't the Brigitte, it was Ashcroft on the Lucio getting in the middle and booping him away from his team that got them that kill.
There's Graviton Surge, self-destruct finds no one, but there's a HSL one. They don't even need the bomb. Sardis, Progi, Ashcroft are there with the kills. Capitalize on the urgency from Morningstars emerging from their spawn room.
Exactly, forcing them into a less favorable situation and capitalizing on that. They've now got 3 minutes and 40 to push towards this third and final point. Morningstars, let's not forget, they did get held for a long time here just as you get through that double doorway, and they did go down to overtime when they managed to complete the match. So for HSL, this is actually quite a promising situation.
And one of the reasons that can happen is depending on when the last fight was, there's a difference in where you're going to spawn, right? So that forces Morningstars to come from the further back spawn. They can't hold the aggressive position. Instead, they've already conceded to this corner.
Reinhold's online on both sides as well, so keep an eye on where the Brigittas are if you can see them and watch what stuns they go for.
About to hit that point now. So Progi's got his first. It could be an aggressive move from Sardis to kick things off.
Where's Leaf?
Still playing around the payload. I don't know. Leaf could be anywhere at this point. There's the stun. And look at the protective barrier come out immediately. They didn't commit to it. They're trying to burn through the barrier because I believe the Brigitte has a faster cooldown. But they're going to use the Transcendence and the Graviton Surge already. There's the follow-up Shatter. Progi not finding anything.
Beautiful.
But look at the reaction from Morningstar's. Leaf in the perfect position to get off that combo, knowing full well there was no possible reaction.
And that was the exact counter I was looking for. Leaf was stood to the right-hand side of the car, and as soon as he saw the shadow come out the other side, he was like, right, I'll block that. Now I'm going to stun you because we've just seen the protective barriers already used in the previous fight. Now we can pull up our own shadow and wipe you out for this fight. That's exactly how this 3-3 setup tends to play against each other in the mirror, is you're trying to bait each other out by using cooldowns and almost trying to say, I'm coming in with the shield bash. Oh no, I'm not really, but you've used the barrier. Now we can go for real.
The game just gets more complicated because it used to be just about ult tracking. Now you're tracking things like the protective barrier and shield bash as well. Graviton Surge and Transcendence layered on top of each other. Protective barriers both being used on Morningstars there to negate any damage that comes out. They're going to retreat around the corner. A lot of aggressive moves made by HSL to take territory away from Morningstars as Sardis gets that kill onto Leaf. Progi's got the Earth Shatter, boops it, drops it, still lands it despite being knocked around and just taking an advantage of. But HSL Esports on the home stretch, they can still do it with 1 minute in the bank if they clean this next fight quickly.
I love how you got like a 180 Earth Shadow there as well, booped on top and still turned around, landed behind the Rhine and the Brigitte, the other side of their shield, and managed to land it down. Beautiful stuff coming out of it. A bit lucky, you might say, but it still paid off.
Shatter blocked straight away. No combination. Leaf was not in position. They're going to still block out the damage. Zeke gets caught out. That shouldn't happen in such a reserved manner. There was no urgency to block that one out. Malzaza taking out Hidan and the mech. So they're not going to be able to force out that guaranteed win or draw. If they complete, it's either going to be in overtime or sub 1 minute time bank.
Their focus there wasn't Progi. It seems it was actually those members off to the sides. Even though the Rhine didn't go down and managed to block both the Earth Shatter and the self-destruct, they managed to catch out other members. But look at the ultimates on side for HSL. They've got 5 ultimates to absolutely none for Morningstars. They're about to get 2 online, but is it enough to hold them back?
If they can do it quickly, they should be able to get it before Exaraf gets in, but unfortunately, that boy is very quick at building transcendences, so they're going to burn out HSL's first, but Exaraf has the answer of his own, sitting on the back line. You should see that come out soon. There it is straight away, self-destruct over the top. There's a boot to reposition everybody, but the barriers are there, the shields are there, everyone's going to stay alive. Shatter of the back line, he's being booted back. Tech's going to take out Casper as Zeke moves forward and trying to press through some of these tanks. Nice stun on there. It actually exposed them to get a Discord orb on him, which is cleansed out or changed over. And Tech36 still going to roll through the rest of Morningstars. They push it onto the point. Leaf trying to get in position. Sound barrier on top of the RV will still hit multiple members. But here's the Transcendence to level out. Support ultimate for support ultimate. Casper on the Doomfist trying to get out onto the point as quickly as he can. DMX Tech36 will get taken out by Zeke. Morningstars are pushing HSL back. and they're not able to get a definitive hold on this one. And with the Transcendence coming out for Exorab, this looks like it's a Morning Stars 1 fight, and they could be winning the match right here.
If they manage to hold it all the way through, yeah, Morning Stars are the ones in control. A couple of members lurking around. Hidan's at the very back here as well, but he's not going to be able to touch this point for very long without getting absolutely murdered. They will hold strong, and Morning Stars, well, they're going to walk away the victors if they can just cleanse them off this point.
And there it is, going to be able to stop them literally just inches away from completion. Able to win out that second map of the series, going into the half 2-0.
Those final few fights, a little bit scrappy. You had random Earth Shadows being thrown out left, right, and center, hoping to catch someone. And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. That's just the nature of the beast, it felt. But HSL, speaking about the series itself rather than about the compositions, putting up a pretty good fight and still getting towards the same spot where we saw Morning Stars get to. Just so happened they couldn't get it that final few meters to be able to force it out into an extra overtime.
Close games, but they're ultimately going the way. I don't think a 2-0 scoreline necessarily reflects how close this series has been, as it is coming down to the wire on a lot of these points. We're going to take it over to our analysts, and they're going to give you their opinion on this series so far.